Alright, welcome back to Scott Wessex Blazer. The little stumpies, which I call a FyrdSteel, so F-Y-R-D, bit like fire. The Fyrd are basically troops called up for Saxon wars and battles. So basically everybody joins in together. That's the Fyrd. It's the main army. Okay, so it's the one that's called on in need. You'll be calling on this in need. And the Fyrd was just like fire. So that's the sort of train of thought behind the name. The reason I made them short and stumpy is to do with the cross-sectional area. Now, I did a few sums, and I mean, I could show them off later, but all you got to do is work it out. If you're doing pi r squared and the radius is 4.5 because the diameter is 9, you end up with a certain area, and then you multiply it by the length, you'll end up with a volume in millimeters squared, cubed, sorry, millimeters cubed. For that to me to buy, which is half of a normal FyrdSteel, I'm ending up with, in this, many times more FyrdSteel than if I bought a blank of 2.38 or 3.96 mil. Okay, because it's the squared law. Alright, so the fact that I'm buying them in 9 mil blanks, it's for me to give a product that has more resilience and a longer life. I'd rather give a stumpy 9 than a thin 3.96. You only got to sit there and work out the numbers. You get far more meat in something this big for only a little bit of a trade-off in length. Now, with the trade-off in length, if you notice that the handle there would quite often protect a lot of the actual ferro rod from banging against things. Now, what I had on many times was like a Wessex steel fire. When you put it on a key ring like this, quite often the keys would be hitting the actual FyrdSteel. But when you put the FyrdSteel through on a lanyard onto there, the amount of keys that's going to hit it, because the handle is in the way. So there's a lot more protection, because the keys would have to do strange movements like this to actually strike that. So in many ways, having them stumpy like this rather than long and thin makes them a little bit more resilient, again because they're not going to get knocked about so often. The actual striking portion, I mean, the amount of times you see people going and you're only using half the length of that against their striker anyway. So it's still a purposeful piece of kit. It's me all over. It's stocky, some people will say, alright, but it's chunky, it's tough. It should be reliable as anything else on the market with this grade of FyrdSteel, but also the fact that it's almost half the size, and it's still a usable piece of kit. But you're getting far more volume in millimeters cubed for your money than you would if I bought a 2.38 or 3.96 ferro rod that they're not as economic buying them through Green Man Bushcraft as I am buying from FyrdSteel's UK. I'm buying these for what I get at 10 price plus postage. You know, you're getting a lot more than if I was buying the blanks at almost the same price for buying a 4 mil as I am for buying a 9. Okay, so it's a lot more economic for everybody. So that's the main mindset behind me making these chunky and cutting along one down. Okay, you know, I think they're quite cute myself. I mean, the handles could be even dumpier, couldn't they? Imagine that, with that. Still does the job, and it fits in a smaller pack, fits in a smaller pocket. Put it in, forget it and leave it. It's there if you need it. So these are my FyrdSteels, basically dumpy stumpy little FyrdSteels. All the best. Got from Wessex Blaze. See you on the next one. Yeah. There, it's got my 6 blades here. I'm going to do the calculations. Hopefully my maths is as good as my sales pitch. So basically the reason behind buying a 2.38 mil blank or a 3.9 mil blank rather than the way I'm doing it, which is cutting down a 9. Now if you want to find the circumference of a circle, there's your section there, there's your center. That R, if you do 2 pi r, it gives you the circumference. What we're after is the area concerned. So there's your circle, there's your sensor. What you want is pi r squared, and this is everything. The fact that it's r squared, this distance squared. Okay, so let's just work out for my 9 up in this corner for a reference point. Let's do this up here out of the way. So a 9 millimeter. Okay, now obviously 4.5 squared, okay, and then you multiply by 3.14. now 4.5 times 4.5, we're upwards amongst like 20, and then you multiply by 3, so you're upwards amongst 60 millimeters squared. Now what I calculated with a calculator is 63.585. So let's just round it up, okay? A nice round figure of 64 millimeters squared. That's the area that we're thinking of. Basically the surface of that 64 square millimeters. Alright? So if you think if it was 8 by 8, it would be about 64. It's a 9 circle. So the calculations aren't an order of magnitude 8. So around about 64 millimeters squared, and what's poking out of there is anything between 25 and 30 mil. So there's 2 that over 30 mil. Okay, so let's just consider, ready, 30, that's the length, okay, how big it is, times the 64. Okay, now in your mind, my mind, that comes around 2000, because you've got 30 times 6, 3 times 6 is 18, and a little bit more. So I'm checking my calculations, it's somewhere around the 20 mark. And it comes out, because you're using 2 sets of 10, it works out, and there's your 2 places back, because you're multiplying by 10s by 10s. There's your 20, because it's 19. It's that millimeters cubed. 2000 cubic millimeters from there to there. 2000. Now let's consider if I was buying a 2.38 millimeter rod. So the radius is 1.19 millimeters. We're going to apply our same formula, which is pi r squared. Now all of a sudden you'll see this thing ain't got a chance, because you're dealing with a 1. 1 squared is 1. Okay, what it actually ends up with, 1.19 squared multiplied by your 3.14 equals 4.45 millimeters squared. Okay, let's just round it up to 5. Yeah, we're actually giving it a greater chance. 5 times 30. Okay, let's just say, let's just give it up on it today, 200 millimeters cubed. Not a chance on a 2.38. Okay, now obviously if it's bigger and you're dealing with something around about the other size is 3.96, you're dealing with 2. Okay, so 2 squared will be 4. So 3.96 half, let's just say that's 2 squared. It'll only give you that section there, 4 times 3.14. So you're only dealing with what, 12, 60, let's say it's 15 square millimeters. 5 square millimeters, 15 square millimeters, 64 square millimeters. It's an order, this is 4 times more than that. Okay, so you add it all up and you're on about 480 to 500 millimeters cubed. And these at 3.96 cost me as much buying them like that as they do buying a 9. Now, yes, you say, oh, you're saving yourself money. Anybody who knows my FyrdSteels are not the most expensive thing in the world, and you're getting that compared with that or that. So by getting a thicker rod and using the squared law, you're getting so much more to use, so much more life, so much more reliability, so many more strikes, and that's the reason I've done it. So I hope that's clarified my rationale, mindset, idea right from the beginning. I've always wanted to have a go at chopping these things down, and this is what I've ended up with. And I think as a product, especially teamed up with something as cute and cuddly as that, it works out a damn good bang for your buck. So Scott from Wessex Blade, thanks for joining me again. See you on the next one.